all have been informed that the organizer is running slightly out of time. So it seems that we will be having two exciting presentations. And based on the program that has been distributed to me, we have Mr. Suhail Sinalebe. Forgive me if I am spelling your name not in the right manner. And the second one is Mr. Eko Nurcahyo. I think without further ado, we can start with Mr. Suhail Sinalebe, and your topic will be on the examining the practice of murabah transaction in Islamic financial institution with reference to in Sri Lanka's practice, right? Okay, I think you have around 20 minutes maximum, please. And as well as to Mr. Ekonur Cahyo as well. I think the total time allocation is 1 hour. So if we can stick to our mutual agreement, I impose the mutual agreement. I'm so sorry, 20 minutes each, so that we can have quite ample time for the QA sessions later on. Tafadhal, Mr. Suhail.
Thank you, Dr. Ilmunidar. Assalamu alaikum, friends. I am Mohammed Suhail Sinalebe.
Can you please speak up, Brother Suhail?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Speak up a bit because
we can hear you, but not loud enough.
Okay, yes. I'll speak a little loud then. Is it okay now?
Not yet.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Assalamu alaikum. I'm Suhail Sinalebe. I'm the second author of Examining the Practice of Murabaha Transaction in Islamic Financial Institution in Sri Lanka. Just to give an introduction to the topic itself, Murabaha is widely used and we all know of that. And the reason it is widely used around the world is because of its malleability to be used in any modern financial engineering technique. And it's also its relative simplicity and the ease of training the staff handling various products. And also a very important point is that banks are fundamentally risk averse. So Islamic banks are no exception to this. So all the financial the financing of the products that are necessarily for financing, we use Murabaha as the primary contract. However, Murabaha in the classical sense is a sales contract where the cost is known to the buyer. However, in the modern terms, we don't use it as a sales contract, but as a financing contract. To achieve this, we use something called TILA or the legal stratagems. So our research problem is tackling this TILA. The application of contract is not the same as how it was used in the classical sense. So it has attracted a few criticisms that we are just imitating the conventional products rather than having our own contracts. So this is the main problem. So my objective of this presentation is to analyze the validity of these legal stratagems or TILA in classical and contemporary literature, and also to examine the practice of Murabaha transactions in Sri Lanka. So these are the two research objectives that we are looking into today. So when it comes to Murabaha, it is derived from the Arabic term Rabaha or Rib, and it means profit. So Murabaha is clearly a sales agreement. However, it is currently used as a mode of financing with few conditions attached, and the proponents of Murabaha acknowledge that it is part to avoid the troublesome circumstances of usury because of riba. So this is necessary for us to use Murabaha. On the other hand, the critics of Murabaha transactions like Mansouri, who criticize saying that we are imitating conventional like products, and scholars have given importance to form and overlook the substance of the contracts. So when it comes to the form of the contract, indeed it is different, but when it comes to the economic workings behind the Murabaha contract, it mirrors the conventional, riba transactions. And also Shukri and other authors like Rosli Naim and Laksasna mentioned that transferring of risk to the customers instead of sharing them is one of the biggest criticism for Murabaha. In this regard, Islamic finance is not having high number of profit and loss sharing products. So they usually have markup products like Murabaha. But however, these authors have ignored the fact that Islamic financial institutions are also governed by international and local central banks regulations, and PLS products have high cost to the banks, and also it increases capital adequacy ratio. So it puts a lot of risk to the banks. So we are still working under the international regulations. So the banks are forced to transfer the risk to the customers. So this argument is currently, I would say, doesn't hold a lot of significance because of PLS. We cannot use PLS. It imposes on on the bank's capital adequacy ratio. So because of this, even though it is undesirable, but it is admissible, that is the majority of scholars who say the validity of legal stratagem in Murabaha transactions. So moving on, is legal stratagem or the heel and its influence on Murabaha. What does this hila mean? What does this legal stratagem mean? So according to Tawfiq 2012, the Arabic expression of hila means like a legitimate tool or legal trap, they call the legal trickery, or the more easier word is called legal stratagem. So Imam Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani notes that hila is a stratagem that leads one to achieve his goals through concealed means, through indirect means. And also similarly, Ibn Taymiyyah explained that hila is intended to stifle an obligation or allow or to permit something that is prohibited through indirect means. So I believe this is more appropriate definition when it comes to hila, because usury is prohibited in Islam, and using this legal stratagem and using this to murabaha as a classical transaction to murabaha financing that is practiced today, we are able to give lots of solution to Islamic banking customers. So when it comes to Quran, there are two kinds of, Allah speaks about two kinds of hila. One is the permitted hila and one is the prohibited hila. So as you know, the famous story of Prophet Ayyub alayhi salam, where he swore on Allah that he would strike his wife 100 times, which comes in, the story comes in Surah Al-Sad in verse number 44. But he didn't like to impose, to go forward with his oath. Allah gives a way out of hila, the permitted hila, saying that you can take all this stick as a bunch and then you can strike her once, so that you do not break your oath, and also you perform the deed, perform your oath. So this is also, achieving the goal through indirect means, which Allah permitted. And also the prohibited hila, also we know the story of a Sabut, the cursed society, they were banned to fish during Sabbath day, which they abused by using a legal trickery, and Allah sent punishment to them. So we know these both stories, which comes in Surah Al-Araf from verse number 162 to 166. So Tawfiq explains that if the hila has benefit to the society, then it should be valid, and so if there is no benefit to the society, then it should be invalid. So the issue of maslaha or the necessity comes into place when it comes to validity or permissibility or prohibited invalidating hila. So when we examine the practice of murabaha financing in Sri Lanka, Sri Lanka is a country, there is only one full-fledged bank, which is Amana Bank, which got the license in 2005. Even though it markets as Islamic bank, Sri Lanka hasn't specifically given an Islamic banking license. It is also given the normal banking license, but in contracts, the Amana Bank uses Islamic banking contracts and not usury-based contracts. So there is inherently a challenge for Amana Bank to work, what it called, to have differentiation in the substance as well as the form, because in the forms it is easy, but in the substance it has to follow the local regulators. So we did the structured interview questions distributed among practitioners of Sharia scholars and Islamic financial professionals, to find the gap between the theory and application of Murabaha transactions in Sri Lanka. So one of the first questions that we asked about, what are their thoughts about legal stratagems? What do they think about legal stratagems? So most of the respondents, they were criticizing legal stratagem, although one indicated that the use of legal stratagem is a necessity to compete with conventional banks, as we are living in a Muslim minority country and all the other banks. The Amana Bank has to compete with Islamic bank. The second theme that were discussed was, is Murabaha transaction a legal stratagem in itself, which most of them considered yes. So they have an idea of the current Murabaha transaction. So what are the legal stratagems that are used in Murabaha transaction in Sri Lanka? They were telling about three important things. The first is using client as an agent and having a deferred payment. And number three was collateral. So when asked about whether deferred payment is a legal stratagem, someone responded as yes and one disagreed. And disagreeing respondent said that if there is no deferred payment, there is no point of financing, but um, that is the whole point of Murabaha financing. So there is some kind of confusion of to what legal stratagem is, but they agree to that the modern day Murabaha application is a legal stratagem. So moving on, what are the practical issues we asked about them in the day-to-day operations of Murabaha transaction, which was the core issues that they are facing? Only one of them actually informed us there has been no issues in the transaction, but all the other respondents, they had many issues, mainly with the client defaults. What happens when client default? Because there is an institution, they are losing opportunity cost, and the institution cannot impose more because already the cost plus profit is determined, whereas the conventional financing can impose the cost of default. And the clients may not know the workings of Murabaha, and usually they come back when they are unable to pay, they come back and say this mirrors the conventional financing, and there's operational risk and exchange rate risk involved in the contract. These were some of the key concerns that were brought up by practitioners to understand the practical issues of implementing Murabaha. One of the respondents also mentioned that bank is more concerned about the profit rather than the well-being of the people. When they are unable to pay, how is the default works? It's very unclear to them how it works. So this is one of the operational risks that the bank has to tackle. So solving the practical issue, we again asked them what are their thoughts of solving the practical issues. And one of the key things that they informed about operational risk is the Sharia audit is highly recommended, proper Sharia audit, and also clients should be more aware of the products through awareness programs and seminars, and the banking staff should be trained in order to inform the clients of the workings of the product before they buy the financing. So, and also we compared with profit and loss models. Still, practitioners believe that profit and loss models is better than Murabaha, even though practically it's very difficult for the bank to implement it, because completely moving away from Murabaha is also unnecessary at this current juncture. And it is difficult for a country like Sri Lanka, where the Islamic bank also works under a normal banking license. So majority of in concluding, I think I'm ahead of my time. So in concluding, all the scholars agree to the classic day Murabaha transaction. The gap is between how do we implement in the current day, where we have to have a legal stratagem, because Murabaha as a transaction, as a sale, there is no problem. But when we come to financing, where there is a cost plus profit, and the service charge, the profit is mainly based on the financing service given by the bank. That is the main issue. If that is the case, that is a legal stratagem. A lot of criticism it has attracted to it. And currently, because there is a necessity, and also Islamic banks are working under normal banking license or being imposed by international regulation, so it has become a necessity. So we have, even though it may be undesirable legal stratagems, we are necessitated to currently work with it, but we should have more innovation such as crowdfunding and so on to support the Islamic businesses to move away uh, from the Murabba transaction. And profit and loss sharing with banking license, it is very difficult. So there should be another way of dealing with profit and loss sharing products. The banks themselves cannot offer profit and loss sharing because they are inherently risk averse. So this is the conclusion of our presentation. And if there is any questions, I'm open to it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brother Suhail. It was such an excellent presentation, not only ahead of time, but it blends in nicely with the subsequent topic, namely rethinking the paradigm of Islamic banking, integrated, profit and social oriented, to be presented by Mr. Eko Nur Cahyo, if I can pronounce it nicely and correctly. So I think we will keep the Q&A sessions at a later stage after we do some comprehensive information from Mr. Eko. And first of all, if you don't mind, please introduce yourself and where are you based at the moment, and 20 minutes of presentations to be allocated for your, inshallah, fascinating presentation. Fadal.
جزاكم الله دكتور حلمان الزهار على إتاحة الفرصة لهذه الندوة الغالية. First of all, I would like to start my speech presentations by stating Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, in this great opportunity, I would like to introduce myself. I am a PhD student in the Coventry University, United Kingdom. And good afternoon for all. And my great thanks to Prof. Najmuddin Kizilkaya for give me the valuable time to present in this symposium, and secondly from the chair, Dr. Hilman Nizar, for these valuable times. And actually, we have three authors for this paper, and I myself will try to present in these times. And please allow me to share on the screen. Okay. Okay. Could you see my screen, Dr. Hilman?
Yeah,
thank you. Yeah, thank you. Our paper is discussing about rethinking the paradigms of Islamic banking, integrated of profit and social oriented. This paper is uniquely to be written as the problem that arise on the functions of the banking. As we know, the new paradigm of banking has been shifting globally in this new era. The shifting to a social bank is led to the financial crisis, as it has been among the most successful financial institutions worldwide during the economic crisis of 2007-2010, and has emerged strengthened by it. And again, I would like to start by giving outlines, a background of study, objective and methodology, rationale and of Islamic banking, and conclusions. Yes, we know that a new paradigm of banking has been shifting globally to the new era, and we know that some of the customer, they disappointed with the mainstream finance who start to save remarkable amounts of money to social banks, and some of the developments of the bankings that now that we know that there is the Islamic banking and finance, and have become one of the main visible features of Islamic economic in the latter part of 20th century. However, its development has faced many criticisms as the following point. First of all, one major criticism of Islamic banking has been modeled after the interest-based or especially commercial banking system. And another issue is pertaining to the objective of Islamic banking to contribute to the social obligation in spite of the profit maximizations. It can be seen that Islamic banking finance institutions prefer involvement in transactions that they are debt financing oriented, such as murabahah, instead of musyarakah and mudarabah, as the more profitable. The reality of today Islamic banking, almost all Islamic financial institutions offer the same basics products, 66% murabahah and ijarah. The prevailing general sentiment is that so far Islamic banking has de facto failed to meet the social and ethical goals claimed by Sharia. The reality today shows that IBF as the institution opposed the aspirations and the paradigm of Islamic economics. A problem with Islamic banking activity is that it often does not embrace the spirit of Sharia. Instead, it looks at the how to make the instrument compliant. Thus, it is need to rethink the paradigms of IBF that follow the unity of Islamic economic, whereas conventional banking has been shifting towards social banking. The objective of this paper, this study, is an attempt to clarify the objective of Islamic banking, which derive from the view of Muslim scholars and how to comply with Sharia. The methodology used will be a systematic review of the literature and look at the book which offer the paradigm of Islamic banking and implementing commercial and socially integrated. The method will be used from the study is content analysis to look for the ideas related to the integrations of profit and social finance in Islamic banking. The rationale of Islamic banking. In the early idea of an interest-free bank, Islamic banks are conceived in the first instance as the financial intermediary mobilizing saving from the public on the basis of mudarabah and advancing capital entrepreneurs on the same basis. It was practiced in the early Islamic period. Most caravan traders were financed by mudarabah and sutaja, money transfer. Now, discussing about the debate on model of Islamic bankings, there are at least there are two groups that purpose the model of Islamic banking. First group are led by Halim, who was supported by Tajuddin. He stated that Islamic economic fall in the three sectors: the siyasi, the tijari, and istimai. And Islamic banking is in the form of the tijari, and from the istimai to the social responsibility. However, Tajuddin says that socio-economic needs the society should be left in the social sector, such as waqf and other charitable institutions. The other group led by Siddiqui and other scholars, to name a few texts, the view that Islamic banks should embody the objective as espoused by Islamic economics, namely economic well-being within the framework of the moral norms of Islam, universal brotherhood and justice, equitable distribution of income, freedom of the individual within the context of social welfare. According to Asutai, it should be stated that social justice and economic development are the fundamental and foremost objective of Islamic banking. This is because the main epistemological source of the social objective is derived from Maqasid Sharia, the objective of Sharia. Now, some studies on Islamic banking in Malaysia and Indonesia, Pardasuki, he states Islamic banking must not only focusing on maximizing profits, but they should also play a vital role in addressing socio-economics. As well in Indonesia, Islamic banking should have a greater social purpose than commercial purposes. As we know, Islamic banking and the objective of Islamic economics, according to Qadawi, has the objective for ethic and also for goodly and human and balance. The objective of Islamic economic are supposed to guide the objective of Islamic banking and finance. And we know the last destination on the last objective on the ultimate objective of Islamic economic is falah. It means getting not only the happiness or in the world, but also in the hereafter. The objective of Islamic banking, Islamic finance, including Islamic bankings. Firstly, the objective that include all those necessary commands which have been ordained in Quran and Sunnah from the smooth conduct of banking business. Secondly, the economic objective of Islamic banking and financial institution also have to try to maximize their profit, but within the boundary of Islamic principle. Thirdly, social objectives are from the welfare and benefit of the society in both long run and the short run. Fourthly, ethical objectives of Islamic finance are based on well-defined principle of fairness, justice, and integrity. Economic end and Sharia paradigms. Yeah, we know that Sharia, Al-Quran is the fundamental source of Islam. From Sharia, from Quran, we know about Sharia, Akhlaq, and also Tawhid. Particularly on Sharia, that we are learning about the economic, social, and spiritual beings. The accumulations of these three things that will give the outcomes how to be the good economic activities according to Sharia paradigm, as what Prophet Muhammad SAW given an example as provide commercial institutions such as market of zakat, wakaf in his era, and also it is followed by his companions such as Uthman radiallahu anhu and some of the caliphates to do of the wakaf and other endowments. Now, the model of integration of Islamic commercial and social finance in Islamic banking by referring the nature of human in Islam and the objective of Islamic Islamic banking has to provide commercial and social finance service and product to the customers. Islamic bank and social-oriented products, some Islamic banks have been developed as a banking product based on social objective by offering deposit based on cash wakaf. This is for example, in Bangladesh, Social Islamic Bank in Bangladesh, other Islamic banks and prime banks of Bank Islam in Malaysia, and in this case, Social Islamic Banks, SIBL, Mudarabah Wakaf Cash Deposits accounts has been introduced for social consisting of 32 purposes under 4 major fields like family rehabilitations, education, culture, health and sanitation, and social utility, and others, general guideline of for this profit cash wakaf. And now the other example from Mudarabah Wakaf Cash Deposit accounts is created in perpetuity where cash deposit is received as endowment on Mudarabah principle with account title is given by the Waqif. By opening the account, someone can get the opportunity to the welfare to maintain through Sadaqah al-Jariyah. And another model of Islamic bank and social oriented, as said by Halim, like Sadaqah house, the Sadaqah from the donor in the form of Sadaqah, Waqaf, and Hibah is put in a trust account that will be allocated to the basket of profitable Islamic investment, such as investment account or sukuk. This is the figure of Sadaqah house. Okay, integrated institutional model, Islamic banking and other social finance institution in Malaysia. This model offers an integrated model of two institutions between the Islamic bank and Islamic social finance institutions such as Zakah, Wakaf, Sadaqah, and Infaq. For example, Perbadanan Wakaf Selangor, Berhad, and Bank Muhammad Malaysia, Berhad. That is said Wakaf Selangor Muamalat. Yeah. My bank, Islamic Berhad, has collaboration with the Federal Territory of Malaysia Islamic Council and NSL to conduct the Wakaf Seed Fund. And another initiative is Bank Islam Malaysia Berhad and University Polytechnic has signed with will collaborate to realize the Insani Wakaf Fund projects. In Indonesia, Islamic banks that have been assigned as Islamic financial institutions that's approved by Ministry of Religious Affairs through Badan Wakaf Indonesia or National Wakaf Board, can cooperate and collaborate with Nazir for fundraising Wakaf. The role of these financial institutions, Islamic financial institution, is very strategic, especially in the development of cash Wakaf Indonesia. One of these strategies related to the legal form that mentioned Islamic bank can be appointed directly by the Minister of Religions as an authorized institution to collect a cash wakaf. And the developments of the wakaf in Indonesia today is very rapidly develops, not only for in the term of lands, but now using the cash wakaf, and some of the wakaf fund used for buildings, the educations, and for developing education or developing the social necessities. Okay, the next model of Islamic wealth management. The other next model of the integrations of the institutions is model of Islamic wealth management. Islamic wealth management is defined as a management strategy whereby a person uses a financial or non-financial instrument to manage his wealth Islamically. Islamic wealth management is a new product offered by Islamic banking in more than a decade. The product offered by Islamic wealth management include investment, bank takaful, and wealth distribution consisting wakaf, hibah, wasiyah, faraid, and zakat. Okay, and in the Southeast Asian countries, Malaysia and Singapore are countries try to become a global hub of Islamic wealth management. Malaysia issued Islamic Finance and Wealth Management Blueprint in 2017 to support the developments of IWM in Malaysia. Most of the Islamic banks or wealth management product to channel the client needs in managing wealth, such as Bank Islam Malaysia Berhad, Bank Muhammad Malaysia, and another banking. And another example that we can see from the screens. The conclusions of my presentations, there are several models of Islamic banking that have combined commercial and social aspect in spite of the debate on the issues has still remained by scholars. Some Islamic banking create a new product and the others become the agent of Islamic social finance institution to collect the Islamic social funds. Although the existing model is different, they have a common goal, namely promoting the benefit of the Ummah in accordance with or in compliance with Sharia objective. Islamic banking should promote the balance of economics that combine profit and social in its activities. I guess this is my short presentations, and I will be very appreciative for the valuable feedback and also the critics, the constructive criticism from the distinguished scholars. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much for the two presenters. You both have been very efficient and even finished the presentations way ahead of time. Congratulations on that. And that will allow us to give a very ample time to have a QA sessions. And I believe there will be, or there might be, a number of questions or observations. And tafaddal, anybody? I haven't seen any question being posted on the chat room. Nothing is in there.
Usually we ask directly to the presenters, to speakers, so not from chat room.
Oh, okay, okay. Tafaddal, anyone?
No one. I want to ask a question.
Okay, tafaddal, Dr. Najmuddin.
Okay, thank you very much to both speakers, Suhail and Ekonur, so for their presentations. I learned many things from their papers. My question to Ekonur about this, the balance between profit and social orientation of these banks. As we know, these banks are established as, you know, to make business. And we usually, when we usually talk about Islamic banks, we think that we are talking about some like you know, foundations, trust, awqaf, or some like charity institutions, but they are not you know, institutions that were established for charity. So what do you propose to balance between, you know, social orientation and profit of these banks? I mean, what can you say about this part, and can you elaborate it a bit?
Thank you, Prof. Najmuddin, for your really excellent questions. Yeah, basically, or initially, that Islamic banking or Islamic finance, financial institutions has fundamental or basics objective in order to accumulate or to reach or to achieve the massive profits through their products, to be their products to be employed or to be applied in the their activities. But again, however, in the last decades or in the current times, that many criticisms that the objective of Islamic institutions is not merely to provide, or sorry, to achieve or to attain the massive, to accumulate the massive profits from the revenue from their products, but again, the importance of the social responsibility also to be concerns. Why? Yes, of course, that we cannot deny the process of earning or accumulating the revenue. It is really require the employments, the tools, technology that really it is spends a lot of money. But again, now the the concern to the social, development and social responsibility or social concerns, it is something so important. Therefore, the Islamic banking or the Islamic financial institution try to develop its program or its activities in the collaborations with another Islamic institutions or charity or endowment institution in order to conduct this kind of the charity or charitable or non-profits activities. But again, it is already done in some of the institutions in Malaysia and also in Indonesia, that the Waqif, the donor, able to conduct their endowments through the banks and by using mu'aqqat or temporarily waqaf, and by using this temporary waqaf, the profits, the profit from the waqaf, the fund from waqaf is used from the investment, and from the investments, for example, for retails or for estates, and from the retail or estates, the profit from that is used not only for fulfilling the commercial profits, but also used for giving the donor to the needy on the orphanage, and not only for that, but also the funding from Waqaf also used to develop the Islamic education institution, and also for developing for the social necessity. I guess this is now the movements of how Islamic banking that's in collaborations with another charitable institutions in order to to collect the funding through charitable endowment is very rapidly developed in Indonesia. Okay.
If Dr. Najmuddin is not satisfied with the answer, that's even better, because that will stimulate more thinking, more research, and more discussions as well. That's the positive side. So anyhow, as nobody has raised any questions, and I thought to spice things up and to keep the balance for the speaker, I have a question for Brother. Is he still with us?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I also had a question for him. But I think she escaped, and he escaped, and he knows that you got a question.
All right.
He was here. I mean, just a few minutes ago.
Just a moment ago. Yeah. He just disappeared. Right. Maybe there was some technical issue.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I should cancel my question then. Anybody? Tafadhal. I can see some familiar names. Is that Dr. Ahmed Farooq Aishan?
No, Ahmed Farooq Shener.
Okay. My apology. I thought
Ahmed Farooq.
all right. Okay. As if your face is not familiar. Have you met somewhere else? No, I don't think so.
In our center, when you gave it.
All right. Okay. Any question, ladies and gentlemen? Anyone?
I think they are tired because.
Is this the last session?
No, we have one more session.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
Yes, we will start from 7 o'clock in the UK, and now we are reaching about 3:15 in UK right now.
Right.
Such a long day, yeah?
Yeah. Okay, I think if there's no question, we can,
You can wrap it up?
Sure.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Brother Eko. All the best with your research and PhD.
Thank you.
Yeah, inshallah. And then I will hand this over back to Dr. Najmuddin.
No, you are the chair, and when you finish, that's all.
Okay, all right, okay. So if there's no questions, thank you so much for everyone, and hope the whole discussion, I'm sure this has been very beneficial despite very short. And wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamu alaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.